Good morning, it's Jane, and on today's WOTWIP and Coffee, it's going to be a little bit of a twofer because I found one small tote with some more yarns, and I thought I would show you that, and then we'll get to chatting, and I'll be working on the Romance Ripple blanket. Some of this yarn, you may notice, was from other totes that I've basically just put into one. These are all cottons, or they are all scrubby yarns. This is, feels like a sugars and cream. Doesn't feel like a peaches and cream. Feels like sugar and cream. This is a peaches and cream in just plain white. Here we have another sugar and cream in a pretty blue. I think they call that Delft blue. Tossing it over into a box. This is the one that I had two of and I'd found in another. It is a what is it? It's a sugar and cream, and it's in, no, it's peaches and cream, in the green stripes. I wound that up into a cake. This is one of the Red Heart Scrubby yarns in that blue. There is the green scrubby. And then this was one that was left over, and it feels like the Red Heart Scrubby as well. Many times when I make and I don't make the big dishcloths, I make smaller dishcloths, but many times I will hold that together with a cotton yarn so that the dishcloth has some scrubbing ability to it. Generally I'm using that for cleaning, either cleaning pots and pans, those kind of things. So that is something that I do. And these were some off sugar and creams, different colors that I just wound up into a big cake. This was another odd one that I just rolled up into a cake. And that feels like sugar and cream. It doesn't feel like the peaches and cream. And then I have two of the Red Hearts Royal Scrubby. And I do make scrubbies with just these. And generally when I do, it's a knit. It's anywhere between, I think I cast on 20 stitches and just knit for a while until it's big enough. And this is one of the Red Heart Scrubbies in the red. And then I have Yarn Bee Scrubology Cotton in Snowdrifts. Then I have one of the Scrubology Cotton in Aria, and these are Hobby Lobby yarns. Mister, leave that alone. Ronan's taken off with one of the scrubby yarns. Then I have a couple of, these are, all the rest of these are the Yarn Bee Scrubology Scrub It. Two in fire red. I have three in blue thistle. And generally, I will either make round scrubbies or I will make square scrubbies. These are good for cleaning anything and everything from walls, you name it. I do have two of the Scrub It in Aqua. I have one and a partial in purple. I don't know if that scrubby yarn's going to be the same or not. Actually, I have three in Aqua. Then I have one in lemon. I have 2 in lime. I have 1 in orange, and then I also have 1 in bright pink. Cats have claimed the red heart scrubby in red. 2 in green. And then 2 in true blue. And that is that tote. So, let me pause you while I go save the scrubby yarn. Well, that kind of turned into a little Keystone Cop scene with me chasing the cats around the house, trying to get the scrubby yarn from them. I have a couple of small, those cubes that you put into the either the 6 or the 9 slot bookcases or cases, cube slots. I have a cube that's open, and now the cats are taking turns getting into the cube. Their love of boxes I find hilarious because they've got to get into every box. I had posted a video yesterday of Izzy. I'd gotten a delivery from Amazon, and it was a friend of mine had sent me another cube set, you know, the clear plastic cube set for the yarns that I had in the back room. She had sent me that, and I hadn't opened because they put it inside of a box. They put that box inside of a box. Instead of slapping a sticker on it, they put it inside of a box. And the box is one of those, it's usually fairly easy to open up, but I hadn't opened it up. I just brought it in the house. And Izzy was busy trying to get into the box. She was trying to find a way to slide into it because it has fairly big openings on one end where you can actually pick up the box by that panel of cardboard, for lack of words. And and that's how I carried it, and I laid it on the floor and hadn't opened it up because I knew what it was, and it was going to go into the garage with the rest of the packed things anyway. And so Izzy was trying to get into that box, and I'll put that video at the end, of course, with them getting into some different boxes, that kind of thing. Ronan will get in the box and get out. Izzy lots of times will get in the box and sit. But they're cats and they love their boxes. So I am now working on I figured I would crochet today. I am working on the Romance Ripple again. I'm adding the couple of rows of the off-white to it. And part of the reason that I decided that I'm going to just spend most of the day crochet knitting, you know, doing a couple of videos is simply because it rained last night. We had a massive storm with lots of thunder, lightning. Cats didn't like it. They were in here right by my side, which is not usual because usual rainstorms, they just, you know, mill around, whatever, they're fine. But this one, really, they didn't like the feel of it. So they came and, you know, they were right by me. Did a lot of petting and talking to them, that kind of thing. But had 2 trees that fell in the back, up in the upper section there. And I tried to video that. It's not a big deal because I will leave it that way. I know that the deer will come and eat a lot of the leaves that fell off that are on it. But not only that, but the squirrels will chew on the bark, you know, sharpen their teeth, that kind of thing, or sharpen their teeth, file off their teeth, whatever you want to call it. So, you know, and we'll just let nature take its course with the tree because it's not any place that you can really access easily. So, yeah, just don't worry about it at all. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on around here. It's a little too wet to do anything outside, so I decided that I would just stay inside, do some inside things. Need to wash my sheet sets, those kind of things today. So, just doing some domestic things. Yuck. Who enjoys that? Not me. Rather be doing something else. But, we have to do what we have to do to maintain your house, right? And I have, like I said, I have a couple of bags for these small, what I call craft fair bags. I don't know about your area, but we tend to have a lot of fall, Christmas craft shows where people come out and they do buy a lot of their items that they're going to give for Christmas and decorations, those kind of things. So, and these bags are great for any time of the year. If you go on a cruise or anything like that, or you're out sightseeing, these are great to take with you so you don't have to worry about carrying those big purses and, being a target for pickpockets, that kind of thing. So I am cutting a few more of those out of some different fabrics today, too, as well, so that I can get those lined up to sew. I did want to do just some general sewing with scraps to put them together. Just because sometimes I find that that's just soothing, because I feel like I can get a lot done and use up those scraps without adding that to the landfill as well. So, yeah. So today's a lot of inside stuff. Gotta do what you gotta do. And have one more day of the sale. Well, 2 days, today and tomorrow, of the sale in the shop for the 15% off. And of course, the newest bags are in there as well. Those are ready to go. Let's see. And now here's the disclaimer. I'm going to turn a little bit to politics, not big. Just, I hope everybody had a chance to watch the interview that Harris and Walls did with, I think she calls her name Dana Bash. Hope you all got a chance to see that. Like I said, I do a lot of watching both candidates when it gets down to the main tube, just simply because I want to see what their policies are, what they're standing on, those kind of things. And I'm kind of struck constantly about one party, and it drives me nuts because they don't follow it. Years ago, Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. That's not true, because you see a lot of bashing of the other candidate, basically from both sides. And I expect that from Trump, because that's the way Trump is. He's not a politician. And that's what I appreciate about him, because he's not a politician. But she made this comment somewhat about, not tearing each other down, that we need to build each other up. You know what? That includes your other candidate. So I see where neither one of them follow that principle, and that bothers me. To be honest, I wish that Trump wouldn't do that. I wish that he would simply just talk about the policies, the things that he wants to see happen, instead of all this negativity from about your candidate. But it's an election year. We see that all the time. So I just wish that these politicians, candidates, if they're going to spout out there that they're not going to tear another person down, go low, but go high, that they would actually do that. And they could do that without mentioning the other candidate. That's my take on it. But I thought it was a good interview. Did enjoy it. Don't think that there were a lot of real questions about some of the policies that Harris wants to put into place. And I was hoping that we would hear that, but we didn't. There was a lot of explanation about things that really don't matter. I did find it rather funny about Waltz's comment that his grammar was off. No, your grammar wasn't off. It was just a lie. Just apologize for it and move on. I misspoke. I didn't tell quite the truth. Move on. So, yeah. And I did find it rather funny to find out that iconic picture of the little girl with the braids was actually Harris's niece. It's a great picture. Of course, I don't see what it means. I don't see that it brings hope. I didn't see anything that brought me hope from that side. And I do wonder why it was not a live interview. That bothers me no end. I don't care how much the TV channels and hosts of the interview say that it's unscripted. Bull. It's always scripted if it's taped. And you can delete things, that you didn't think was favorable to the candidate. Or, you can do a lot with editing of a tape. Lives, not so much. Because if you're doing it live, you're actually seeing that person right then and there and in action. Even with a 10-second delay or whatever. So, but I did find it interesting. I'm waiting basically to hear from Democrats what their platform is. I've heard little bits and pieces, but it's not anything that would sway me to vote for them. But who knows? We still have a couple of months to head up towards election time. They may be able to change my mind. Like I said, once again, still voting for the lesser of two evils. At least what I'm seeing here. And, that's the thing about elections. We can all be free to choose who we want to choose. And we should be able to. Without fear, without being berated about it. That kind of thing. So, yeah. And I do hope that if you are not registered to vote and you are an American citizen, that you would go get registered to vote and vote. Voting is our chance to choose the representatives that we want to represent our country, our cities, our states, our localities, those kind of things. And we should always be active voters in that. Then again, that's my opinion. I think that voting is a right. I don't think that it's a given. And that since it is a right, it needs to be protected and needs to be done getting the most information that you can about the person, what they're going to do for your country, your state, or your locality. And I did find something interesting. I have a friend who is a staunch Democrat. In fact, she is one of the head persons of the Democratic National Committee in our area. And she had posted that Biden had made it to where monthly insulin, regardless of the type of insulin, was $35 a month. No more, no less. And I had posted, that's not what I'm seeing, because I'm paying $105 for 1 month of insulin. Each month I'm paying that for my insulin. And I had a bunch of people tell me, no, you're paying for 3 months. No, I'm not. It only lasts me a month. I know what I'm paying. You know? So I find that interesting. And yes, you know, I do think that Biden making it permanent was a good thing. Trump had made it temporarily while they were trying to work to get it passed for a permanent change. Didn't happen, and that's okay. Stuff doesn't, you know, things like that happen all the time. They don't get it finished. And I think a lot of that, too, was because of the whole thing with COVID. And I think any presidency that had to deal with that massive outbreak, no matter Democrat or Republican, it still would have been the same outcome. Economically, deaths, you name it. There wouldn't have been a change, you know. And I have a lot of people tell me, yeah, but more people died under Trump during COVID. Well, that's not true. Actually, more people died under Biden with COVID than under Trump. But let's put that into perspective. Trump only dealt with it for a year, right? Biden has dealt with it since then. So it stands to reason that his administration would have far more deaths due to COVID than Trump's. And I understand that. But, you know, and I really wish things were better for us economically than what they are. I don't see that they're going to get much better in the future. I actually think they're probably going to make another turn for the worse. You know, just because some of the things that I'm hearing from people who like truckers. I've had several truckers tell me that they are expecting diesel to become almost hard to get towards the end of September, to where they will not be able to make their runs. Now, and a lot of them have said that it'll be way too expensive. You know, it'll be like $15 to $20 a gallon for diesel during that period. And many of those trucks will just stop running because they can't afford it. Now, I hope that that is all bluster and doesn't really happen. But, you know, I'm kind of curious because we've seen Warren Buffett sell off all his shares. Was it all of his shares or most of his shares of Bank of America for cash? And he's selling a lot of his stock off and turning it into cash reserve. So there is a part of me that says he is expecting us to go through either some kind of depression or something awful in the future. So, I don't know. I hope it's not. I hope it doesn't happen. But I think as people, we need to be prepared. You know, we're already paying outrageous prices for things. You know, I know plenty of people who are trying to have to decide, well, do I eat this month or do I pay my bills? Or do I pay half my bills and eat some this month? Yeah, that's kind of scary in itself. So, I'm hearing some weird noises outside, so I'm wondering if we're getting another storm. It is a cloudy, overcast day. It's supposed to be cooler today here. Well, now I know what the sound is. It is actually my neighbors. They have a band, and they gathered together to play, and the noise is there coming from their garage. So yeah, it's them. And when I say from the sounds where I live, they do not sound like a very good band, I'm being brutally honest. It may sound better when you're in the garage with them, but you know, sometimes sound carries and sound distorts by what's around you. So, yeah, I find that interesting. The difference in the way that it sounds. So, what are you guys working on today? What are your plans to work on? What are future projects you're thinking about? I've chosen, well, now there's somebody out there moving stuff. I have chosen a couple of stitches that I have decided that I will be using for that green blanket. There is a part of me that wants to get started on the green blanket, and then I'm like, okay, Jane, you already have 2 whips that you are working on. This, the romantic ripple, and the sweater that I've been knitting on. So what makes you think you can handle 3? Just work on those 2 and get those done. But I gotta tell you, my startitis is bad. You know, I'm like, I want to start a new project. But I also know if I start another project, I'm not going to get these finished, and I need to concentrate on these projects. Because Lord knows, you know, I have that one tote that is just filled with projects that are unfinished that I actually need to, you know, one of the things when I do get moved is that probably needs to be the first one I open and just start working my way through them. And hopefully I will get that done. That will be my goal for next year, is to work my way through those whips. I think I've already decided that. That will be a good goal. Do you have any goals in mind that you're thinking about for next year? as well. And I have to tell you, I have my whip cart over there. I don't call it a whip cart because normally it just carries all my different scrap cakes that I've rolled up, caked up. And I keep looking at it and thinking, I need to get over there and I need to use some of that scrap yarn. See, startitis. I have it bad. You know? Need to stop moving on to other projects. Focus, Jane, focus. Wonder if I have adult ADHD. Probably. I always thought that I did somewhat anyway. Once I learned about some of the things that it involves. But, you know, doctors don't always diagnose that. In fact, I had one doctor when I'd asked about it. I said, you know, I don't seem to be able to focus on just getting one thing done. I'm always the type of person, I'm here, there, and everywhere and scattered. And they told me that that's just my organization. That's the way I am. And that, and I actually had a doctor tell me this. You're way too intelligent to have ADHD. What? Intelligent people have ADHD. Non-intelligent people have ADHD. Goodness gracious. And I say that lovingly because we do know there's always that person who cannot think logically in our lives. We love them anyway because they're very special people. But sometimes we wonder what goes through their minds. Yeah. I do have a friend that, as she calls it, those are people that a lot of other people consider disposable people, and I really don't like that word. But then again, I know that many times we don't look at someone when we're out because we don't want to see what they're going through, so we find it easier to ignore them. You know, kind of like when you see someone that you think is absolutely homeless. So you try to avoid making eye contact, you try to avoid talking to them, whatnot, which I think is kind of sad about our state of humanity right now, where we think that that's acceptable. Of course, there is that old theory that if you're around someone and the hair on the back of your neck raises up, that's your inner spirit telling you that that person is danger. Walk away, which may absolutely be true. I don't know. I do know that lots of times I follow through on my intuition when it's concerning a person. But you know, it's kind of like when we're in the grocery stores and we ignore that elderly person that's trying to get something off a shelf, either because he can't reach it well, you know, maybe they're in one of the shopping carts, the motor carts that are used by people who have different physical ailments or handicaps or whatever. And do we try to help them or do we ignore them? Do we offer some kindness and smiles and talk to them? Or do we just ignore them? And I know when she was talking about disposable people, she was basically talking about the elderly in her area. She's had a couple of her neighbors that went into nursing homes. And she said those are the kind of people that people tend to ignore a lot. They don't make contact with them. They don't go visit. They don't call. They don't write. They don't whatever. So that's what she calls disposable people. And I really wish that we as humanity wouldn't do that to others. You know, we wouldn't want it done to us. And I did have a friend that teased me when we were talking about that the other day. She said, well, you'll never be that type of person, you know, that would go into a nursing home. I said, no, my son's already told me I'll be living with him in one of his back rooms in a chop shop or something. You know, he'll be expecting me to turn out product. And that is a joke. My son teases me about that. But then again, my niece teases her parents about going to... Sorry about that. Back had the film stop automatically because we'd run out of time. And then then Ronan was having a hissy fit, so I had to go see what he was having his hissy fit about. He didn't like the fact that there is a backhoe outside. Because of the rain, a lot of the gravel goes down into the middle of the road. So the backhoe was scraping that and pushing that off to the side of the road. Where I live, I have to go downhill. I live close to the top of a mountain. And that gravel gets across the road and it makes it pretty treacherous to drive through, especially when it's wet. So they do try to clear the road of the gravel that just naturally flows down. All right, but what I was saying is I have a niece that teases her parents about putting them in shady pines. So yeah, we all have our ways, family ways of joking with each other, you know, about when we're getting older, those kind of things. So yeah. And I always find it interesting the way cats react to different things they don't like seeing in their neighborhood. You know, Ronan, for the most part, he is the most vocal of the two. Izzy does not meow. Izzy does a lot of what I call cooing, trilling, which is kind of like woo, woo, and then a little woo, woo, that kind of thing. But Ronan, he will do all of the above, but he will also meow at me. One of his favorite things is when he thinks I'm not paying enough attention to him, like he would jump up onto this chair, onto the arm of the chair, and then he would put his paws on my shoulder, sniff my head until I turned my face to look at him, and then he would look into my eyes, blink, and then meow. Yeah, he's that kind of kitty cat. So find it interesting that Ronan meows while Izzy will not meow. Of course, Izzy could care less what's going outside. She rarely jumps up in the window. That is something that Ronan loves to do, sit in that window and just look outside and watch. And his favorite thing is when the deer are in the back, to just be walking along the back windows, checking the deer, watching them, and almost like tracking them, like he's trying to hunt them. And of course, sometimes you get one of the little fawns that gets awful curious and wants to come right between the window and that back retaining wall so that they can actually get a closer look. And they will just have like this little stare down. And it's cute to watch. Of course, most of the time my phone's off somewhere else being charged or whatever, and I haven't gotten any real video of that. But it is interesting to see these two animals through a window give each other the eye. So yeah. I had posted this morning a picture. Well, I think I did it last night or early this morning. It's a picture. It's of an eagle. These Looks like his head is bowed down in prayer and then followed with a prayer. And the Facebook algorithm put a notice over it covering it, saying that it may depict violent or graphic information. We've reached that stage of what I would call censorship. Because quite interestingly enough, it depicts neither one of those. So, yeah, I do find that interesting. What do you guys think about what Zuckerberg announced? You know, he'd written a letter, put it out there all over the place about how the Biden-Harris pushed him to censor people on Facebook, especially about the COVID issue. I think that's rather interesting. You know, since supposedly he will tell you they don't censor free speech, but apparently they did. And apparently they did it because an administration gave them grief about it and basically forced them to do it. And I think that is sad. And I think that's one of the reasons that they really want to get rid of TikTok. TikTok, it doesn't matter if you lean right, you lean left, you spout your opinion, whether it's right or wrong, spout lies or truth. Very rarely do they allow you to post something that is an outright lie. Generally, they will strike that, take that video down. But I think that's why, in many ways, this administration wants to do away with TikTok. You know, they tell you all this other stuff about Chinese, you know, and all this nonsense, and I'm like, gee, I don't see anything there. I don't see how you're giving them any information. But, you know, what do I know? You're not giving them access, you know, to your lives or anything else unless you care to share it. So, of course, maybe there's more to it than I realize. Maybe I need to look into that. But I found that confession rather interesting, especially to read it about how they were coerced by this administration to do that. It's sad. It is sad. And I think it's sad that we have a culture where we think we can cancel out other people. That's wrong. So yeah, just find that interesting. I watched part of it. I haven't finished it. I can't remember the guy's name. He did an interview with Trump, and it talked about a lot of things that were attributed to Trump that didn't happen. Let me see if I can find the guy's name. But it was quite a long interview. And his name was Shawn something. but it was an interview where he actually asked Trump a lot of questions, and one of the things was the question about him calling military suckers and losers, which that is a blatant lie. That is something that the Atlantic had posted, and Trump describes what had happened, what they had done. When they were over in France, it was raining really hard. Helicopters couldn't go out to the cemetery that he wanted to go to. So instead, he had talked about driving instead of flying, and they determined that they couldn't do it because of the rains and everything that was going on, safety-wise for him at the time. So instead, they went to a different cemetery, and during that time, he had fired one of 27 people who were with him. And that one person is the one that told the Atlantic that he had called past soldiers losers, suckers, and losers. The other 26 people testified that never happened. But I'm kind of curious why you would follow what someone who was fired for not doing his job, why you would believe that nonsense. So, I can't find it. Shawn something. I'll find it and maybe try to put it down below. But he did a very extensive interview, much like the SpaceX interview that Elon Musk had with Trump. But he asked a lot of questions about the things that Trump has said, some of the things that people have misconstrued, the lies. And what I find interesting is when you see most of these lies, they come out of a partial statement. They don't come out of the full statement. And, sometimes you need to have the full context of the full statement in order to determine what they're saying. I mean, you can't just say something crazy and think people are going to say, oh, well, that's just the way you are. So, yeah, I find that interesting. I do wonder why people think that and this is something that Pelosi portrayed out there, and it is something that is true of people. If the lie is repeated enough, people believe it to be true. And Pelosi has endorsed this for candidates, Democrats, to use in their talking points, to repeat a lie enough, get the media to repeat it over and over again to where the people believe it to be true. And if you don't believe that media tries to sway you with propaganda or with whatever, watch CNN for one full day, then watch Fox News for one day. You'll see that they all do it. Both sides do it. And then when you go to look for the actual thing that happened, you find that it isn't what was portrayed. I mean, there was also there's this thing going out there that Trump had staged the wreath laying at the Benghazi memorial. He didn't. Abigate, the family, the families of Abigate invited him, asked him to come. You also have people saying You can't take photographs or video there. That's not true. It is true that you cannot use it for campaign. That is absolutely true. You can't come in, you can't give a campaign speech or anything like that during one of these ceremonies. But part of the lie is saying that, hang on, I need to get a drink. Part of the lie was saying that some of his staffers had pushed one of the military personnel there when they tried to stop them, which basically didn't happen. There is a reason that public people, especially Trump, uses videographers and photographers wherever he goes. And the media has repeated that lie over and over again. There is video showing what happened. And yes, they did have permission to have the camera and the videos there, videographer there. They have documentation to prove that they have permission to be there. They also have video of the incident. And this young officer, she wasn't pushed. She wasn't shoved aside. The only thing is, when she came close to one of Trump's staff members, Secret Service moved in and just held her at bay. So, and there's video proof. You know, Trump could release that video proof. But then again, if he did that, most likely this female military person would be reprimanded severely for lying about what happened, and or could possibly face some kind of court-martial or dishonorable discharge for what she did. So I'm sure there's reasons, many reasons why he's not released that. And those are the kind of things that really piss me off. When we see that, we only see the snippet or the lie that is propagated, and it's done by both sides. So I find that annoying, because I don't find that you can find media that is trustworthy, that is honest, that is going to tell you the true story. You know, it's kind of like the John Mayer song, where the media gets to bend the truth whatever way they want it, or gets to bend the story. I mean, he warned us years ago about that. So, yeah. You need to go investigate further than just your basic media. Go into doing a lot more searching to find out the truth. And you know, it's really sad. We have seen where, for the longest time, the media put out that ivermectin was not good for COVID, that it did not cure it. And then again, we see some of our people, even President Biden, used ivermectin to heal his COVID. So, you know, the media, they put that lie out there. So, and I do think it's interesting because, you know, we've had the World Health Organization. They put out there, I think about 2 weeks ago, that monkeypox was the newest global threat, pandemic coming. Well, come to find out, it's not really that big a pandemic. They rescinded that the other day. Found that interesting. But there are some basically things that you can get at herb shops that will stop the progress of the monkeypox. You can take it to avoid getting it, and it's a very hard disease to be transmitted. Yes, it can be transmitted if you are in a large group that is infected with it, but it's pretty difficult. So yeah. Of course, now the big thing is the that Nile virus that's going around. But you know, you kind of have to wonder about that. We had the week before they, couple of weeks before they had all that, about the Nile virus, and, you know, a lot of people worrying about it. So you have to take cover when you're in places where there might be mosquitoes. Well, that's true all the time. They pass all kinds of bloodborne diseases. West Nile is just one of them. And they say that there's no cure for that triple E if you do get it. But then a couple of weeks earlier, we see helicopters releasing, supposedly, genetically modified mosquitoes. And, you know, my little thing with conspiracies is conspiracy has just a kernel of truth to it. Were they releasing West Nile virus? See, that's where my mind goes to those conspiracy. Possible. Or did they really release genetically modified mosquitoes that are supposedly out there to stop the breeding of mosquitoes, but also to kill them after so long? So which is it? Which is the truth? Which is the lie? Who knows? You know, our government has done a lot of things that we didn't approve of. You know, in past years, they used to sterilize those who were mentally disabled or challenged, or whatever word you're choosing to use right now. They used to sterilize them without their consent, without even thinking about what they were doing. And then that was found unconstitutional, and our government stopped that. They also used to use prisoners for experiments. Of course, I think they still do that sometimes, but I think now they have to actually have the prisoner's consent. I think that's the difference. So, yeah, you know, just kind of like it used to be with that, some of the drugs that they treat for people who are transgender. You know, I have to wonder, when these people are going through that trans phase and they're lopping off body parts, they are being given massive drugs, which, by the way, most of them cause cancers. Have they been instructed in that? I mean, does a child of 13 years old actually understand that? You know, I question those things. So yeah, we should always seek the truth, no matter what it is, no matter whether we like it or not. Truth is that. It's just truth. We shouldn't be afraid to find the truth instead of spreading more and more lies. Of course, then we have all those people that try to censor us. When you try to tell the truth about something, they'll tell you, oh, that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. And then they'll follow one of the worst media that lies about everything and put that out there as truth. So, yeah, it's interesting. Interesting how we choose to live our lives and deal with things. Yes, this pattern involves some counting. That's why I have to stop and count to make sure I get the right amount of stitches in between. Otherwise, the ripple gets off. And there's times when you get to that point and you're like, why am I off? Then you go back and look and you find your mistake. So, gotta go back and correct it. I do like seeing all the boggy blankets. I hope you guys have been watching those videos to see all the different blankets that have been made. Some of them are amazing, just amazing. And I do like the fact that they are encouraging other content creators to create a boggy blanket, do a tutorial, and then they're going to place that all into one playlist. And I do like that idea as well. That is a great idea. It's a great way for many of us to see different types of blankets to work on, to do, so that we can do for not only Boggy Creek, but also for those charities in our neighborhoods that we may participate in. So I've been enjoying watching all of those, seeing all the different blankets. And I do like the way that they are organizing things for a little bit better. Of course, you know their goal is for 2025 in 2025. So they're hoping to get 2,025 blankets in the year 2025 when they deliver them. As you know, most of the time they deliver those to Eustis, Florida, probably at around February, if I remember correctly. And generally those content creators that are very involved with it and that are, you know, creating the Boggy Creek Blanket Brigade, generally they are involved in showing those off to the people that work at the camp so that they can see the work and ooh and ah over it, as well as us ooh and ah over it. And of course they generally do some kind of informational thing about the Boggy Creek. Lately, I do know that they were featured on a couple of news broadcasts about what they do and what they have done. And that is a great way to bring awareness to the Boggy Creek people. I do know that many of us that quilt, they also take quilts. So if you want to send quilts, that's fine. They will show them on the Boggy Lives, but I don't think they can include them in the count for the Boggy Creek blankets. Don't quote me on that. You may need to watch one of the videos with the Boggy Creek people to show that. But as always, it's a good idea to be able to do those things. We still have a couple people that are taking squares. I think Lynn Ann is taking 5-inch squares. I think Billy is still taking 6-inch squares. Lynn Ann wants hers to be bright, cheerful. Billy wants hers to be the colors for Christmas, St. Patty's Day, or Halloween. So, you know, if you can't send a full blanket, maybe you can send a couple of squares or a box of squares. Postage can be iffy depending on where you're at. You know, I would imagine if you're in California, shipping to Florida, it's probably more expensive because you are going from the farthest zone away from Florida. And shipping generally goes by zones. So those are some things that you kind of need to look for when you're putting those things out there. All right. I think I have chatted and going on long enough about nothing and everything, whatnot. So like I said, I'm going to let you go for now. Recording automatically stopped. It stops at 29.5 seconds. So it automatically stops and then I have to restart the whole thing again. So I do apologize for that. But I am going to let you go. And I will see you again soon. Hope you enjoyed this little visit today. And sorry I talked about politics, but, you know, those are my opinions and I'm going to share them. You know, if you don't like it, move on. But I hope that you will give a listen to people's opinions, regardless of if they believe like you do or not. That's kind of what brings us together and having a better understanding of each other, rather than this kind of hate and animosity that goes on that we're seeing a lot of today. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you again soon. Everybody have a great week. And remember, be a little kinder to yourself and be kind to others. Bye.